Bum bum ba dum bum bum ba bum bum ba bum bum ba bum bum. But I am I I'm a my 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 oh 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 oh.
Let's do Hamburger, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll be quiet now and listen.
Can you imagine going to 770 people? Guys are learning and they all start singing all together.
Okay, I see. I get the point. All right. It's easy to do on the other end of a telephone. I can put myself on mute and sing a niggin over here.
Uh-huh.
Not that I do.
You coming Motzi Shabbos, Baruch?
I don't know, Akiva. I told you that already.
I know,
don't know, and I won't know until Motzi Shabbos.
But I want to see you.
But we're not having. Do I take it? We're not having a Fabringham Shabbos. This is in place of a Fabringham.
Yes.
There's no Fabringham Shabbos afternoon.
No, you can't. No.
Yeah, it's too hard now. Okay.
All right.
My thought is that this time around, learning these first few pages is a lot different than the last time.
That's a universal rule.
Yep.
Where is the Malacha Malka?
What?
Getting a Malacha Malka?
Yeah.
Where?
Here.
Your house?
Mm-hmm.
What time?
7:30, hopefully. All right. So, I think we, so to speak, read till in the line that begins Hakav, so above the middle of the page, about 2 lines above the middle of the page, Hey. Hakav amlush b'teichom. הרי שהקו פייל בייז עניונים הפוכים. The kav affects 2 opposite inyonim, which is going to be briefly repeated here, but we already learned it. One is that it brings about the metido, the measurements for all the spheres. And then the other is that actually it brings the aspect of Ayin Sof, the unifying element, the unification amongst all the spheres, and how all the spheres are actually connected and unified with their shayrish, with their source. So, we discussed this morning the principle of being unified with their source, the principle of being unified amongst themselves. That despite the fact that there is a measure and limit, it does not change the principal factor that this is actually a representation of Oir Ein Sof. And again, I'm going to reiterate that which I'm saying all the time. I hope that we get the subtlety of it. Oir is by definition Oir Ein Sof. Because Oir emanates only from a source that is Ein Sof, that is real, that is Atzmi. That is the principle of Oir. And we discussed this in the past, that what in fact is the principle of Oir. Mentioned many times, it should not be confused. I said that the sun shines and there is Oir. When we say it's light, we don't mean to say that it's lit up, that the street is lit up, that you can see across the street. That is not what we mean by Oir. By Oir, the sun is shining means it's daytime. It's light instead of darkness. It's a completely different state of being. This is what I mean by Oir. And what is the principle behind it? What is like the significance of it being lit up, light, not lit up? This is actually going to be brought down later on in the Hemshech. This is all related to the following principle which we discussed here. We have many aspects where this can be identified on a minimal level, on a human level. One is the fact that the human being, has the aspect of ownership. He can own a piece of property. And we distinguish it very clearly. Human ownership, when we say he owns a piece of property, we don't mean to say
Are you hearing this ringing too?
Yeah, please mute your phone.
You've reached Snare's phone. Sorry, I'm unable to take.
When we say owning property, this is a while since we mentioned this. We do not mean that he owns a property means he is going to protect it against intruders, like a pack of lions protecting their turf. We say own means that he actually owns. It's his. He doesn't have to protect it. It's out of the public domain. It is his. It's his property in the same way as the watch that he's holding in his hand. When he holds in his hand, the watch in his hand, you don't question how is it his? Because he holds it in his hand. And if you want to take it out, you have to tear it out of his hand. You have to include it in him, not the property. You have to, so to speak, interfere with his presence. Owning property is exactly the same way. The property may be 1,000 miles away, and he owns it, and if you enter this property without permission, you are intruding upon him. How is this? But he is 1,000 miles away? And the answer is that, yes, indeed, he is 1,000 miles away, but his oir spreads 1,000 miles out. His presence is actually wherever he wants it to be. This is the famous saying from Baal Shem Tov. That Mokim she'etzenu shel Odom shom hu. That a person is where he's where he wants to be. Why? Because a person, even though we're looking at this little, person in a living body, it's not a living body. It's a godly presence. And God has given the person, imbued the person with a true presence. Let's make that true presence, define true presence. A true presence, thank you very much.
There's two.
Yeah, one's upstairs. Okay, thanks. What is a true presence? No, wait. A true presence means something that is present for its own sake, not as a support and as a function, not functionally. What's an apple tree? Apple tree is to supply apples. What's a human being? To supply for what? Human being is there to be, not to supply anything. The whole world is created for the sake of the human being. Because that he has this true presence. True presence has no limit, is Ein Sof. It's not true in one place and false out, it is true everywhere. This is also reminiscent to what the Baal Shem Tov says, that a Yid, to love a Yid, doesn't have to be your neighbor, doesn't have to be somebody. A Yid that exists on the other side of the world, that you've never seen, he exists, you have to love him. Yeah, that's what Ahavas Yisrael extends to. How? Is that some kind of a imaginary type of love, or is it real? It's real, because a Yid that exists, who is on the outside of the world, is there and here at the same time. Because it's real.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had this question when you were discussing this morning. If this oyer, I may have the answer or think whatever. This oyer is infinite. We're talking about a human being now. So how do we see that, for example, a human being, his life comes to an end? What happens to the infinite oyer?
And there's a shortage going there.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, you heard my question.
I heard your question, Baruch. The short answer, the long answer is too long. The short answer is that a human being, whoever existed in the world, never dissipates. He may have left the physical world, but he still continues to exist, not only as a neshama, but as a human being with all the effect of his having been in the world. This is why we have such enormous kovod hames. Be careful with kovod hames to the extreme. And we visit the kvorim, and we probably yortzeit, and we make all kinds of askores, And we named children by ancestors. In the world, he was and he is and he's gone. Finished. I remember, it's till this day it shakes me. I remember I was working in this office, and there was a Yid, a Yid who never had very little understanding what it means. A Long Island executive, a gifted man. He really thought a lot of himself. And I come one time I come on Monday. Where is this guy? He was really a big boaster. I said, he died. He died. When is the funeral? Funeral? It's finished. He's already cremated, he doesn't exist. Finished. Off the map. I said, what? Nobody came to, there's no funeral. He was an executive, and he's no longer an executive, he doesn't exist. So this is a terrible offense to the reality of a human being. So that's the short answer to your question, brother.
I once saw a line Reb Shimon Schwab brings from the...
Now what?
Reb Shimon Schwab brought from the... He heard from the account of Avner Nezer, that said that Koved HaMes is a Shmira. Koved is a Shmira.
No.
Koved Chal is a Shmira. Does that tie into what you're saying?
What does it mean by Shmira? Shmira of the Chai, Shmira of the Mess?
No, I don't mean Tafka Mes. Koved, Chal, the sense of honoring a person.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have to think about it. In any case, we all readily understand that I'm not going into this specifically at night. The point of bringing this out is that we should have a sense. What does it mean, Oyer? And what does Oyer and Sof mean? As we explained this morning, Oyer and Sof does not mean an Oyer that expands indefinitely. Oyer means that it's inherently Ein Sof, because it's an Oyer that represents something that is a reality, that is inherent reality, and therefore it has no limit. The expression in Chassidus regarding the sun, we never came across it in what we learned yet. The expression in Chassidus regarding the sun is as follows: that the sun is a etzem behiri, is a bright essence. Because it's a bright essence, so wherever it appears, automatically it becomes light. This is how Chassidus describes the brightness, the light effect of the sun. Not, as we're discussing all the time, not that there is an energy sent out and it reaches the earth. Wherever the sun is, it becomes automatically bright. Why? Because the sun is an etzem behiri. Etzem behiri means its brightness is not a functional brightness. Like it would appear b'gashmi, is that it consumes fuel, it burns, it becomes hot, it gives. Its brightness is an essential real truth. To understand this, it's virtually impossible, because by us, light is a functional thing. It's a function of fire. It's a fire. It's created. But we have to remember that the Torah tells us right in the beginning, the first day of creation. Hashem said, "Let it be light," and there was light, and there was no sun. There was no sun. This is one of several quote-unquote powerful moments that the cynics say, you believe everything in the Torah? Yes, okay. So what is the light that was created in the first day? Go and explain to them what it means.
But now you're saying that it's from the Shemesh.
No.
Because the Shemesh is the Etzem Behili.
No, the Shemesh came later. The way it is understood in the Torah is, there was this light that had no Shemesh. There was the light, the godly light. This light, because it has no Shemesh, because it had no camouflage. You know what camouflage means? Has no way of concealing it within nature. So that's not suitable for the world. So therefore, the Eibusha took that light and put it into the Shemesh. But the Shemesh represents not a manufactured light, but a real and a fundamental light. But the Shemesh per se, the heat and all the gases and all that, this is to camouflage and to put it into a natural perspective. But it's not that. Because if it were natural, the Eibusha created it this way. That this Shemesh burns for thousands of years and it doesn't dissipate. Is that natural? It defies a natural understanding. However you explain it. Because the whole point of the Shemesh is to represent this brightness, this essential brightness.
Can I ask another question?
Okay.
You could rule it out of bounds, but
I'm not a lawyer.
Hey, but you do rule things out of bounds. So, I always come up with the same question. I know I asked you before, but whenever we get to this point, why is it we're talking always in terms of Oyer? The Oyer never ends. And we say in Hamapil, Hameir, Oilam Kulei Bikavaydai. We don't say Hamachaye es Oilam Bikavaydai. He gives Oyer. Is life just a subcategory of Oyer, or one subset of Oyer? Are they synonymous?
They're not synonymous, and the term subset is a viable term. A life, just as in Oyer, in the Oyer HaShemesh, and if you have a chance to listen to the very end of the Hemshech, you have to listen. I'll repeat it, and Mitchell will get there again. That as we are going through this Hemshech, and you all can recall that the whole process of the Hemshech, all the way to the very end of what we have, is to point out that Oyer remains Oyer in Sof. No matter how far it extends, even Oyer Bekeli remains Oyer in Sof. Has an etzem element. And that extends itself to the point where the sunlight at the lowest level of sunlight, not on the level that we are saying it brings light, at the level where it actually illuminates, it makes things visible by shining upon the physical object and being deflected from the physical object, and as a result of that, you see the object. Now it's just a physical phenomenon, the way it's understood in physics. Even there's an element that is light, that is godly, that is Ein Sof. Where is that? That the fact that you can see and relate to an object without ever coming in contact with the object, without touching it. That already is not worldly. Worldly, you have that which you have in your hand. That which you don't have in your hand, that which is a distance from you, you don't have. And here you have something that is at a distance from you. Even though you have a physical way, so to speak, to explain it, but still the experience is such that it is at a distance from you, and you don't really touch it. So this is the Indian. Yes, the Chayus is a subset of Oyer. Chayus is where Oyer becomes, so to speak, physicalized, so that it actually can be felt by a physical body. But we have to understand that even then it is essentially Oyer, which means it is essentially godly. It has a fundamental godly truth to it. Let me translate these words. In a physical world, in order for anything to be activated, in Chassidus it's brought down from Chakira, from philosophy, from Jewish philosophy. Kol hamineya misnaneya. That anything that that makes other things move is misnaneya, is in itself moving. Like you have in a car, you have the wheels spinning, and what makes the wheels spin something that is also misnaneya in itself. Kol hamineya kol hamaniya misnaneya. This is how it is in the physical world. Now we have a neshama in the goof, and the neshama makes the goof misnaneya to move in all kinds of different ways. And the neshama is not, but it's not that type of relationship. The neshama is not moving when it makes the goof move, because this is what's called a godly reality. And this godly reality, this is in Chayas, even though it's Chayas that makes the group live, it's an essential reality, essential to the truth. And in one place where we see the same way as we see that the sun gives off light and it does not dissipate, the neshama gives Chayus and it doesn't get old. The goof gets exhausted, but the neshama can give life for indefinitely.
So when we're saying in Hamapil, Hameyer es Olam, we're really saying he's giving the world more than life.
Yeah. Gives the world more than worldly life. He gives the world a godly life.
If we would say Mechaya, then it would be limited. We wouldn't understand that it's more than worldly.
Right. All right. So yeah, that was out of order, but I didn't rule it out of order.
Just one thing, you keep on interchanging godly with essential and truth.
It's all one thing. This is synonymous. There's only one truth.
What about the personal aspect?
You mean the human being? What do you mean personal? Huh?
In Hashem.
What about? What
We relate to it as personal, but what do you mean?
In what way do you relate to Hashem personal? What do you mean by personal?
The Father, I guess that's a status.
It's not a steer. A father. These are all.
This is all through
These are all really subsets. This
when
is.
We say Ato.
Huh?
And when we say Ato.
Yeah. That's all because of his true presence. all because of the that's not the, for now. Ato, Hu, these are all referring to the different the degrees to which we are relating to Mevash. Okay, so this is the principle. Oir, again, in a summarized statement. Oir exists only in the presence of an atzmi. And because it's an atzmi, that's why he has oir, which means because it's an atzmi, he is automatically everywhere. Because he's an atzmi. Because atzmi means is a fundamental truth. And that's why he's everywhere. And he's everywhere in this form of oir. Just like, to put it in the most simple thing, like you said, ownership. You are in your home, and every last crack and crevice of your home has you there as a presence. Our original demonstration of this was that if you have a home and there's an attic, and there's a corner in the attic that you've never seen, you don't even know that it exists. And I come into your home and I climb into that corner of the attic and I say, I'm making my residence over here. And you come and say, what do you mean making residence? This is my home. What do you mean your home? You don't even know this exists. You never use this. It's mine. Your home is not part of the home that you use. Part of the home that you don't use is not yours. What will be your response? You call the police and get me out. What do you mean? Because you are present in every crack and crevice whether you know about it or not. That's the human reality.
Is this muscle of home that you constantly refer to, this comes because of that the Beis just told about the Welt dealing with Achtonim?
Yeah. Okay. So this is the union that the Kav brings oir. Oir is, as I said, by definition, ein soif, because only an ein soif has oir. Only that which is an atzmi has oir. So this is that side. This we discussed this morning. But what's left to discuss, to elaborate a little bit, that we couldn't finish this morning, is the meter, the measurement of the cup. How does the cup provide the measurement for all these spheres?
Yeah, like we had this morning, the Kav defines Chokhmah.
Defines, right, how the also comes to Chokhmah, Bina, and so
right.
forth.
When I heard it this morning, I was thinking to myself, in the mashal that we have of, let's say, tzanoyos, they're all containing the same material. They're all containing water.
Mm-hmm.
But here somehow the Kav is sort of changing the ore into the form
It's
of
not.
chesed or
See, this is it's not changing anything.
yeah, it's defining it.
It's defining what aspect of the oil should be recognized here. But it's the same oil. This is the measure. And how does a kav measure? What is the measuring have to do with kav? We call kav is a measuring stick. What does it mean, measure? How does it measure? Where does measuring have to be the kav? Kav, he said, is is that it comes to a tzimtzum. The oil comes in a limited line, so to speak. One nekuda below the other. So, how does that relate to measurement? And for this, we explained already, and this is now I just want to make it clear that when you have the flow of water in the river, which is an infinite resource, there isn't a sense that there is a flow and that you can measure it. It's just a presence. Whereas when you have a conduit, in a conduit, this is like you are feeding. This is you're feeding. You're feeding. Once you have the concept of feeding, I mean, it's called hamshocha, not just the presence of Ein Sof, but the hamshocha. Once a hamshocha, this is what is added as a result of the tzimtzum. Like we said, there's a mokim ponu, and in that confusion, because there is hamshocha, therefore there is already the concept of measurement. You measure hamshocha, you mamshich in sequence, and because there is a yin for hamshocha, therefore there is you can further define the various ways that you mamshich. You mamshich into chochma, into bina, into das, into chesed, into gvura, different kinds of hamshachas. When there is the initial oil in its fullest, in the total glory, so to speak, it's there because the atom is there. There is no hamshach. Let us go back to our moshel of the owner of the home. The owner of the home, in terms that we just now discussed, that he owns every corner of the home, there is absolutely no difference from that perspective. To what extent he owns the table or the bed where he sleeps, or to what extent he owns the little corner in the attic. There's no difference whatsoever. When do those differences surface? When you begin to speak in a functional level. What's mean functional level? Because a person, even though he is a human being and he has this phenomenal truth about him, but he also lives in the world. In the world there is day and night, and by day he has one function, by night he has another function. And he has different things. Today he has to eat, he has to sleep, he has to work, he has different periods. Because he is after the tzimtzum, and he has different moments of function. This is why there are different kind of different degrees and different elements of his presence. In the dining room, he is more present than in the attic. But that's presence. That's not the essential reality. This is what the Kav is measuring.
The Kav deals with presence rather than...
That's right. Kav is supplying it. Supplying is a mean from presence. There's the fundamental reality and there's presence, what he represents, what he brings about. Yes, the dining room has to definitely be much more welcoming to the person than the attic. If there is a a water stain or a dust in the attic, you're not going to panic if there's dust in the house, in the dining room. You'll say it has to be illuminated. Okay. So this is conceptually this Indian that they would cover. I just wanted we should be able to relate to words that we're learning. All right. So again, we are starting from today from the line that begins Hakav Hamislavish B'Teicham. This is 2-3 lines above the middle of the page. As it says, Hareshi Hakav Poyel Beis in Yom HaFochim. Thus, we see from this discussion, and we now reread it, is that the Kav affects two Inyonim HaFochim, two opposite Inyonim. V'hainu. And that is, how is a Kav able to affect two opposite things? Lefi, it is because Sha'akav be'etzem, that the Kav in essence, in other words, the essential truth of the Kav, Harei hu me'oirin social tzimtzum. It is of the oirin so that is before the tzimtzum. Of the oil, not the oil that's nimshal, the oil in its true pleasure, so to speak. The haina, which means b'chinas oil habligvul, it is of the oil habligvul. This is what the kav is. Rak shebo b'chinas koyel gvuli, except that it is presented. Shebo, it's presented b'chinas koyel gvuli, in an aspect of a koyach gvuli, of a finite koyach, a koyach that is able to do certain specific functions. How does that occur? As a result of the effect of the tzimtzum and the rishim. And this is why in the Kav there are both of these inyonim. On the one hand, shenoise midu gvul. On the one hand, it provides a measure and a limit. And also mekasher u'mechaber, and it also binds and connects. Because in essence the oil is bli gvul. We discussed this morning certain aspects of this makasher or mechaber. We pointed out that they say that the chesed can be miskasher with gvura, and all the various spheres, all the various midas, and all human beings can recognize themselves in the other human being. Two people who are completely different people by nature and by culture, by background, totally different people. And they can readily recognize that in this kasher. The underlying fact of this, a source of this is that despite the fact that they're very different, their differences are only in the functional level, in the middle gvul. But the etzem, they all represent the same truth, the same godly truth. And this is how they actually recognize each other. This is miskasher. So that a Baal Chesed, someone whose inclination is in Chesed, can understand the attitude of the Baal Gvura. He does not necessarily agree with him, but he can understand it and he can respect it. Everyone has his alaki element. because that element, this the source, where it's coming from, is never lost. That is the real oil. This is the real thing that's being represented. Like we mentioned one time here, we said Avram Avinu, his avodas Hashem was through Chesed. We have to understand clearly that his avodah, he did Chesed to the extreme. And the Chassidus explains that there is a fundamental difference between what's called Chesed de Avram and Chesed de Yishmael. Chesed de Yishmael, this is worldly Chesed, a Chesed that is based on Yeshus. Avram's Chesed, why was Avram so involved in Chesed, and to such a degree that he was sitting and waiting for Orchim and so forth? Because this was his avodas Hashem, because he recognized Chesed in the Elokus, and he was constantly bringing out the Chesed that's contained in the Elokus. But the Elokus is also Gvura, and Avram actually recognized it, because when he was told to do something of Gvura, he was able to do it. But primarily he identified with Chesed, and Yitzchak with Gvura, and Yaakov with Tevet and so forth. Okay. Now we continue further. V'zehu tzinoi b'gematria shmoi. And this is the term tzinor, as is used in Kabbalah, Tzinoir, Tzinoiris, Shai HaTzinoiris, and Tzinoir is b'gematria Shmoi, has a numerical value of the word Shmoi. Shmoi means his name. What is a name? A name, as we shall learn soon, name is the same inyan as oir. The whole inyan, and ultimately this is the principle of what is mentioned, the hoyo, when it said the hoyo hu ushmoi levad, that before the creation of the world there was he, ushmoi, and his name, levad, only that was the shmoi. There was the Shem of Elokus, Shezeo Bechinas Hoyer in Sof Lifnei Atzimtzum. This Shem refers to the Hoyer in Sof that Lifnei Atzimtzum. That's Shmoi. And what is Shmoi? This is still going to be actually brought down later on in the Hemshech. What is Shmoi? What is the name? What is the name of a person? The name is how a person is present outside of himself. The name it recognizes, gives cognizance. And this person, that's why we name a baby when he's born. Now this person has a presence much greater than is contained in his limited body. His presence is a reality. And you can be talking about him 1,000 miles away and refer to him by name because he's present there. He's a reality. This is the Shmoi, his name.
Doesn't it have to be in sync with the simple pshat?
What?
The simple pshat, what does he do? They just need a name for before the world was created.
No, so what's the answer?
Who's going to call him?
So what's the answer?
I don't know the answer.
How's it upset?
What?
How's it upset?
The question is Alpi Pshuta.
Which question?
What it says.
No, 1 second. Okay, let's.
Okay.
When you hear Yehu Shmuel Avad, this is the scene. This is the Iyan from Yehu Shmuel Avad. Shezehu bechinas hoyer in soy shelifnei hatzimtzum. This Shmoy, this is the hoyer in soy shelifnei hatzimtzum. That Shmoy, that goes with him. But then shenim shach, and then this name is brought down on the day tziner hakav. When this name becomes a tziner, it becomes a conduit, so to speak. It becomes a means by which you can extend it and bring it down to in a finite drawer, in a finite form.
How do you type Sinur Hakav?
Sinur Hakav, the conduit of the kav.
The conduit of the Kav.
The conduit which is the kav. Zehu Gamkein, and this too.
I just wondered if you could explain
Yeah,
that sentence.
But
I mean, he begins it. It seems the way it starts, the Gematria Shemoi, that he's saying how it's showing that this Shemoi is like something that is in the Kav, and it nonetheless it keeps its truth to Hashem, to the Etzem. But then it seems that it says that the Shmoi, in fact, it was true before the Tzimtzum.
mm-hmm.
So the emphasis of Shmoi is not that it's true in the Kav. It was true. It was not the aura at all, ever. But then it seems to come into the Kav, which that would imply it's an aura.
Yeah, so
is this the Shmoi? The Shmoi is Etzem, or it's
Shmoi is not Etzem. Shmoi is the oir.
right? Right. I know that's how it seems when it starts off, but then it seems to be. It starts off. It seems that it is oir. Then it changes and it says Ushmai Levad.
Yeah.
That it's Etzem, not
No, who Shmoi? Who is the Etzem? And Shmoi is the oir.
And before the Tzimtzum, this was it. The Shmoi was before the Tzimtzum also.
Yeah. Oir Tzimtzum Lifnei HaTzimtzum.
And at that point, it's less than the Etzem. It's not it's not the Etzem.
No, it's the Shmoi.
Are we saying that the Tzimur is the Shmoi, Gematria Shmoi? That's what we're saying? That what Gematria Shmoi means is that Tzimur is a Shmoi?
Yeah.
Then we're saying that
Shmoi ultimately after the Tzimtzum becomes a Tziner.
It's.
What is your question? That's not what he is talking about.
No, I tried to say my question. I couldn't make myself understood, but
I'm trying my best.
no, I was puzzled here because it seems like Shmoi is not an Etzem. Then okay, you point out that who Shmoi, this is the Etzem and the Or.
Right.
And the Etzem and the Or they exist before the Tzimtzum as well.
That's right. It says here.
But you say that the Shem is recognition outside of himself.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
you're saying that it's before the Tzimtzum.
Yeah.
This is the spashtus, so to speak. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That and then different levels and so forth. Who is Shmoi? This is the. We learn later on the way how come there is an oil before the tzimtzum and so forth. But yes, that's what he says here. Oil and social. If they had tzimtzum, I don't understand how you can read it differently. It says beferish. Shezel bechinas oil and social. If they had tzimtzum, oil and social, not that.
Right. When I read who was Shmoi, I guess I didn't focus that this was the etzem and the light.
That's right. That's when the light. Who was Shmoi?
And then it goes through. After the tzimtzum, it becomes part of the kav, and
Becomes a tzimtzum.
And so it's like everything else in the kav. It's the same ore as before, but now it's fitting to to this.
Mm-hmm. It goes. It's a nimshach. Once it's nimshach, it's a different. Yes, we can bring out different functionalities.
You just never would think that Shmoi would be related to this functionalities, but.
Shmoi, ultimately, we don't know what was bothering you, but as long as it doesn't bother you anymore now, so that's what counts. וזהו גם כן מה שהתורה נקרא דרך. Just quickly, I just want to get in this. This is also the principle that Torah is called derech. And the pasuk says, "V'shomru derech havaya." That Avraham Avinu, he will forewarn his offspring and his future generations that they should guard derech havaya, the pathway of Havaya, lase tzedakah u'mishpat, to do tzedakah u'mishpat. Torah is called derech. Now that we have explained the inyan from the mashal from the derech and the tzinoir, now we will understand why Torah is called derech. Because we are going to stop here just we understand the connection. Because the derech Havaya, the Torah is the pathway through which Havaya is nimshach into the world. And now we will. Yeah.
The tzino we say is a derech. It's a mashal. It's the mashal. And a derech, he said that there's two things: there's the path and there's a person who's walking. Just like in tzino, there's the pipe and the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the light, are we saying that's the keli and the or within the tzino, within the kav? There's a keli and the or. How is there two parts to it?
We just now said because there's a measure, and there is the Ein Sof element. This is the principle.
By the way, do you consider Shmoi the or Ein Sof?
Do I consider it?
I mean, according to biblical language, is the or Ein Sof and Shmoi one and the same? Zehu Gamken, this Bezehu about the Torah, this is that it is also something like Shmoi that comes into the Kav is
Bezehu Gamken Mashatera Nikras Derech?
Yes.
Zehu here refers to the tziner element.
It's in,
The kav element.
Is the measure a different part, or is it just a reduction of? It's a holding back of its full force.
As a result of holding back, it measures.
so how do you translate this? Oh, Gamkein Ma Shator Nikor Derech. How do you translate that?
This too corresponds to the Ayin that the Torah is called that.
This too. What is this too?
This the tziner element of the kav.
It's called Derech. Derech is something that we established as distinct from Sinur, or was it a different muscle? And we ascribe to Derech something quite distinct from Sinur in the muscle?
No. The two Rishonim, you pointed out how one complements the other.
And that this is, and how the Torah, we find here that the Torah is also likened to a tzinur.
To a derech. And the Torah is called in the Torah derech.
Yes, which we say this is like a tzinur in the language of the Maimon and the Kabbalah.
All right, Paltiel.
Yeah.
Baruch, can I just finish my thought here?
I think I'll help your thought if you let me.
Okay, appreciate that. Okay.
Didn't we say earlier that what the derech mashal adds, so maybe I got this wrong, is that at tziner everything flows one way. Mashenkin and at derech, there's two-way traffic. This was like his chalkus and his chalus, or maybe I'm wrong.
No, that was mentioned, but it was not pointed out as the specific difference between derech and tziner. That is true, though. Okay, but the Torah Pinchas derech is the Inyan, the pathway to bring down the oir leki lamato.
Is that similar to Shemai, that it's bringing down the...
No, it's not similar to Shemai. The Shem is the oil in Seif. Shelifnei HaTzimtzum.
Yes.
And as a result of the Tzimtzum, it goes into a form of a Tziner, of a derech.
Shemai.
The Tzimtzum was in the oil, in the Shemai. As a result of that, it goes into the form of a Tziner.
And don't we say that about Torah as well?
And Torah is not Tziner. Yeah. Don't they say the same thing about Torah? Torah is called also Tziner, of derech.
Torah was Lifnei HaTzimtzum as well.
No,
That's not important.
it is important, but that's not what we're talking about the source of Torah. We're talking about the fact of Torah, the presence of Torah.
It's very inspiring to them.
With derech, we're talking about the as it is after the tzimtzum.
Right.
Why does he focus us on Torah as it's after the tzimtzum? Why is it? That's how to show that it's applied in this world.
But he get there, right?
He brings on the posuk. He says Torah is called derech, and he goes on to explain what that means. Torah is called derech.
He's going to explain that now?
He explained it the whole time. This question was brought down a couple of pages ago. Why is Torah called derech? So he explained the whole meaning of derech, and now he concludes that explanation.
Okay, so I missed the back there.
But is the chasarn of the mashal of derech that Baruch mentioned going back and forth? That's not what we want to use that for, right? Just one way, right? We're talking about just one direction.
That's not the point. He mentioned about derech, but he didn't make that emphasis at this point.
Oh.
All right. So this is it for tonight.
One, two, three. Brother, keep your head up. I know you're fed up, but the Jews got the move. Lech lecha, don't let up. Things get in the way to discern. Ooh, thank you, Tati, for letting me learn, letting me earn, and taking my turn. I know you know one day I'll return. Ooh, the favor's deserved, 'cause of your word, even kinder than mom and you I prefer, over and above the world. Ooh.